everyone. We're going to be starting in just a few minutes. We have a special guest joining, and we're just waiting to get everyone connected.
Hello.
Hi. No, we're here. We're live. Hi, Molly.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So nice to see you. I'm Elizabeth.
Nice to meet you.
You too. So are we going to hold just a second for Natalie?
I think we're waiting for Natalie.
Awesome. So in our announcement, we didn't say that Molly was going to be joining us. So this is Molly Gordon, who is in the film and is amazing. And also Animal Kingdom is like my favorite show. So
thank you.
Fangirling a little bit. And everybody's just logging in now. So as soon as Natalie joins, we'll get started.
If you need me to go and hop back on if I crash too early, you let me know.
No. We're totally good. We're just going to hang out and chat. We could, I love this movie so much. I want to wait to be effusive about it until Natalie gets on. So I will tell the people in our audience that we are going to try to get a couple of questions answered at the end. So if you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A box. And Lisa, who is our social media manager, is going to post in the chat the hashtag for the film and the handles, so you guys can share about it as well.
We're all figuring out the Zoom of it all.
The Zoom technology of it all. Well, here's something we could talk about while we're waiting for Natalie to come on. So what was your, if you had to put something in the Broken Hearts Gallery, what would it be?
God, that's such a good question. My first boyfriend, like first real boyfriend, there was this Thai restaurant we went to a lot, and I have a menu from that restaurant, and maybe I'd put that in the because we ate a lot of Thai food, and that has a lot of sauces on it, and I've kept that, and maybe I would put that in the Broken Heart Gallery. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, what do we have? Let's see. Okay, so Natalie's here, but her video isn't popping on. I don't see her as here. Sorry guys, we're gonna figure this out shortly. She should be in this list that I don't see her in.
We're working on it.
Okay.
She's having some issues getting on, but keep going. We'll take care of it.
Okay. Very good. So I will say that I brought my thing for the Broken Hearts Gallery, and what's really funny is that I used to be I was like Lucy in the film, totally 150%, and I saved all the things.
Really? Wow.
Yes, and I have over the last, and I'm, probably twice as old as all of you who were featured in this movie. Only like a year ago did I get rid of all the hundreds of mementos, and when I went to go find something, this was the only thing that I could find, which was a very strange mug that my ex-boyfriend's parents sent me for Christmas one year with all of their pictures on it.
And do you use it, or is it
no,
just okay?
No, I just felt bad. I felt bad throwing it away. I had a really great weird shoe that he had, but I must have thrown it away. That's what I was looking for to talk about today. Let's see if the mug is spooky. Yes, it is spooky. And it was a very strange gift to receive from Amazon when I opened it up. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
All right. All right. How are we doing, Jazz?
One more minute. We're just sending her a new link.
Okay. Well, if anybody has, how about this? If you guys want to share your, what you would put in the Broken Hearts Gallery, or any questions for Molly in the chat or Q&A, we can do that while we're waiting. So Jamie says that she loved you in Broken Hearts. Okay, here's a question for you, Molly. How different or similar are you to the character you played?
I'm very different from her because I'm very emotional and don't like violence. So I'm very much the opposite. But that's what was really fun about it, to lean into the other sides of me. There she is. There's that goddess.
Hello.
I'm coming on and I could hear you guys all talking and I was like, I'm here. But no one could see me. It was odd. Hi.
Hi, you look
Wait.
incredible. You look incredible. You
Well,
launched a,
I'm going to say someone came into my hair this morning. I'm not.
well, you launched a few things this week, so.
I had a baby 4 days ago.
Casual, amazing.
So it's like I'm an old hat.
Yeah, you look incredible for having a baby a few days ago. So I have to say
my
that
first baby, Molly Gordon.
Yeah.
Of course, thank you. Thank you.
I thought this film was so incredible.
Oh, thank you.
It was so universal. I was saying, I don't know if you could hear me or not because I couldn't see you, but I was.
Your mug.
Oh yes, my mug. Yeah, my broken heart mug. I had a better prop, but I couldn't find it because I've thrown all the things away.
There you go. You're very involved.
But one of the things that I really loved about it is that I'm someone who's twice as old as the characters who were in that film, and it was so relatable. I mean, it was universally relatable.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. That
Yes.
makes me really happy.
And so can you talk a little bit about what your inspiration was for this film?
Yeah, it was my own hot mess of a life. I was about the age of the characters some time ago. And I was sort of in the midst of I was a struggling writer in Hollywood. Had just gone through a breakup. I was, moving apartments. I'd been fired from my job. I used to say let go, but the truth is I was fired. And I was sort of sorting through the detritus of this like old relationship with this pretty terrible boyfriend. And I was like, what am I going to do with all these things? Like, what do I do with these sweatpants? What do I do with this tooth whitening tray that I creepily have held on to? And that was sort of the seeds of the idea. And then of course, like, a story as it does after draft, after draft, after draft, like evolved from there. And, that was 10 years ago and here we are. that script is actually my longest relationship. So.
Well, now you're just at the start of a whole new long relationship.
Yeah, I'm never getting rid of this kid, I guess.
You're stuck. Mm-hmm. I thought it was interesting that we all have sort of a different idea of why we hold on to things like that. That was one of the things that I was thinking about through that film. And no spoilers because some people may not have seen it yet, may not have gotten the link, but you can see it. You can see it today. It's playing in select theaters.
Yeah, and at the Sony Drive-In if you're in LA. So.
Yes, and pay attention to our social media because we'll be doing a giveaway of some tickets to that. But at the end, we find out why Lucy is holding on to things. And my idea of why I was holding on to things was different. What was your idea of why people would hold on to things like that?
I mean, I think that it's just a natural human instinct. I think breakups are this odd thing where someone is and Lucy says it in the film. She says, how is someone your everything one day? And then it's like they never existed the next day. And I think that there's something about us that we want to sort of memorialize the idea that we've been here. on this
That
earth.
it happened
That
almost.
things happened, and I think that's the truth about like even things like Instagram or Facebook or any of that. Like we are natural documenters of our own existence, and I think that that's an extension of that. Is my little philosophy about it.
So you talked a little bit about the things from your old boyfriend. Are those the things you would put in the Broken Hearts Gallery?
I do have that tooth. I did get rid of that tooth whitening tray.
That's good, because that's a little.
Yeah, it's psychotic behavior. But the other thing that I would put in was when I was in my early 20s, I dated this guy in New York, and we would sort of, I mean, this will give you everything you need to know about the health of this relationship. We would challenge one another to like steal silverware from the bars or restaurants that we went to. And so for a long time, I had this like mismatched like set of silverware that I sort of like hauled with me from place to place. And I will say I also have gotten rid of that because with children comes like much less storage. And so I've had to do some purging of my own in these last few years.
It's so wonderful that you were both the writer and director of this film.
Yeah, thanks.
I loved your, it shouldn't be that amazing. I loved your, the article on this in IndieWire today where you said, you too can be treated like a straight white guy.
Yeah, I'm encouraging all women to treat each other like straight white guys, because I just give all the opportunities, and then we can, eventually even get jobs that we don't deserve.
Right. It can happen. Do you want to talk a little bit about the process of this and how you got this film made?
Sure. As I said, I first wrote the script. My husband is like on the phone in another room. It's actually driving me crazy. I'm just going to close the door because
Okay.
What? I made the baby. Like, you get off the phone. Hold on.
This is our Zoom world that we live in these days.
I know. I'm hoping the baby would
I'm going to duck down because then you won't be able to see the ring on the bottom. Okay. So,
I forgot to ask, did you have a boy or a girl?
Oh, I had a boy. Like, it's life's like, I really was convinced, Molly will tell you, I was convinced this one was a girl. Because does the world need another white guy? We can leave that to the.
I guess so, because you made one.
Ezra Ash. Yeah, I had a boy. I wrote the script 10 years ago, and I think for so many writers, you write something and you kind of treat it like a bad boyfriend. Eventually you sort of put it on the shelf, or a bad ex. You put it on the shelf and you're like, you know what, maybe one day when the time is right, like we'll get back together and like this will get made. And that's so sadly, because there's so many great screenplays that have been shelved, that often doesn't happen. And in this case, No Trace Camping, the producer financiers of this project, called me up when I was, pregnant with my first child, actually. And they were like, we love this script. We got it. We think it's such a like fresh rom-com, and, we'd like to make the movie. And I was like, well, okay, cute joke. I want to make the movie too. Like, they had come so close so many times. And they were like, it just needs a quick rewrite, which any writer will tell you is actually not a thing. And we want to cast it and shoot it. And I truly, I'm going to be honest, I dragged my feet. I didn't want to rewrite it. I was loath to look back at this thing I had written so long ago. And I just kind of didn't believe them, if I'm being honest. And then I finally decided I tend to do things at the most inopportune times, like give birth when, I'm releasing a movie, or decide to rewrite the movie immediately after I've given birth, which is what I did in this case. And I don't know, it was maybe like sort of welcoming this new life in or whatever it was, but I dug in and I rewrote the script, and they were like, great, now let's go make this movie. And over the course of rewriting, kind of starting to have those conversations, I had been very clear about how I saw it and how I wanted to cast it, and the music and the look and all this stuff, and just that had come naturally from producer conversations. And they said, well, why don't you direct the movie? And I was like, what do I have to do? Do I have to make a reel or act it out for you? What do you want from me? And they were like, no, just say yes, we think you can do it. And I think I literally said, thank you for letting me know what it feels like to be a straight white guy. I accept. but I think the lesson from that for, you know, I was waiting for someone else to tell me that they believed in me. And I think that so often men, and I'm going to just broadly generalize, do not wait for that chance. So I hope that for any women on this Zoom situation, that we can believe in ourselves first, because I think that's the big sort of takeaway here.
Sure.
Take something away.
Your casting was so authentically diverse and so different than a lot of the rom-coms that we see. Do you want to talk about that process a little bit?
Sure. I mean, like, I think that it's, and I don't mean this in a sort of negative way about the question, but I think it's sad that we have to keep saying this, because
Right.
why? You know, and we should, but like, we are living in a world where there are so many different types of people, and there's been so many different types of people for such a long time. This is what New York looks like. I was casting this movie based on two things. I first wanted to make a world that I see reflected around me, and that's what I think we should have. I mean, sure, it can be an idealized world. Do these girls live in a nicer apartment than they could probably afford? Yes, but that's the movies. But that doesn't also mean that we should like whitewash the rest of the world. Let's just make the apartment pretty. So I think let's make this film look like the world around us. And then of course, like, I just got to cast performers of whom I was a huge fan. So Molly, like, I had seen in Animal Kingdom and in Booksmart and loved, and was like, you know, let's see her in this movie. Like Pippa Sue, I had seen in Hamilton, like the rest of the world, and adored her. Arturo Castro from Broad City, Egon Wadham in SNL. Megan Ferguson is actually a longtime friend of mine, so I'd seen her in everything she's done, and so on. Geraldine, obviously our leader from, you know, Blockers and Hala. And so it was just a matter of appreciating these, you know, wonderful performers and trying to bring them together in a way that felt true.
And it did. And can somebody just tell me how Bernadette Peters still looks so good?
Nobody knows.
She have a portrait of Dorian Gray, and that she looked incredible.
It's one of those mysteries that, like, you know, scientists will spend years trying to get to the bottom of, but we'll never know. And I don't think she'll ever tell us, nor should she.
She shouldn't tell us. Yeah, shouldn't tell us. What do you hope that people watching the film will take away from it?
You know, I think there's kind of two things. One of the things that Molly and Geraldine and Pippa and I have really talked about, and like Molly can sort of speak to this too, is that I think all the women in the film particularly, and starting with Lucy and, you know, the world around her, I think all the women in the film are sort of asking the world to love them, not despite the fact that they are weird, but because they are weird. And I think, you know, each of our female characters, I did have a male journalist, I'm going to confess, tell me that some of my female characters were a lot. And I said, tell that to the
That's nothing new. We're not used to men saying we're too much.
No, I was like, well, I like characters. Female characters are a lot. I'm a lot. Shut him right up. He told me he didn't mean to offend me. And I said, well, you did. That's going to go great. But I think that's one of the things that was really important to me, that we don't need, you know, we've seen the rom-com where the woman like tries to fit herself into like a cute box, a skinny box, a acceptable box, a not rude box, so that like the guy will like her. And then she realizes like, that's not what she needs to do. And I wanted characters who knew that from the jump and were dealing with other things. The other thing is just, you know, the universality of heartbreak. I think when you're going through it, you feel like you're the only person in the world to ever experience like the depths of this darkness and live in this valley of tears. And eventually what you discover is that it's like truly a rite of passage. And in, I think, a time where, you know, I'm looking out my window, California's burning, and we've all been living in quarantine, and there's a lot of disconnection. No matter where you stand on, you know, social, political, whatever the thing is, like, that is the thing that unites us. And the little things we keep from those, you know, from those times are, you know, we all have that. So I think those are sort of the two biggest ones.
Molly, can I switch it over to you for just a second?
Please. So I could sit and hear Natalie speak for 5 hours.
So what drew you to this film? What made you excited about it?
Well, I thought Natalie's script was so fucking funny, and I very much connected with it. And what she was saying about the female characters, I felt like they were so unapologetically themselves and free. And Geraldine's character never. The problem was not that she didn't think she could do her job, and I feel like that's a lot of the center of these movies. Like, can I do it? She always knew she could do it. It was just, would the world make it happen? And then when I saw Blockers with my friend Beanie, we both saw this. We saw Geraldine, and I was like, this woman is an absolute star, and also I need to be her best friend. So when I saw that in the movie, I was just so thrilled that I would get the opportunity to work with her, and I think she's just gonna have the most magical career, and she already does. And is like the most warm, smart, wonderful person. So I just feel lucky that I got to be a part of that journey and then get to work with Natalie.
And I forgot to mention how much I love the scenes in between of the people from from Broken Hearts Gallery. Love the Barack Obama one. Love the.
She's like, wait, did they right now? I'm sorry.
Right? I was like, wait, she's pregnant. They look fine. Did they break up? And I love that. And also the stuffed thing, which I can't quite remember what it was.
Oh, it's a long story. I sent my prop master an hour away the night before to get a taxidermied dog. And that dog
was a dog. That's right.
Like 1890. It's so crazy. It was like the biggest director. I think it was just like, I think they thought it was a joke. I was like, how quickly, it's 8 p.m. By 9 a.m. tomorrow, can we get a taxidermy dog? And he was like, yes, we can.
See, that's what you need. And the people who
are amazing. You are amazing. Monument to be erected in your honor.
Yes, we can. Molly, what was your favorite moment in the film?
My favorite moment to watch in the film is when Lucy says, when Dacre says, I'm really happy for you. And she goes, oh, no, wow, no guy has ever said that to me. I think that's such an important moment. So that's my favorite moment to watch. And then to act in, we spent the first part of our filming just filming all the apartment scenes. And it was just, I couldn't believe that was my job, that I got to just work with Natalie and Pippa and Geraldine and have fun and be free. And that week will always be like a very special time in all of our lives.
Yeah. I love in the scene after Max breaks up with her and they come and they wrap her in the towel and they bring out Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It was so great. The ultimate breakup movie.
Oh, to watch that movie after a breakup and it's like, don't do that. It's just more sad.
Right. It's what makes you sob. So I wanted to give our audience a chance to ask a couple of questions if they have them in the Q&A box, because I really want to respect your time. So feel free to put them in the Q&A box if you have questions. Natalie, do you want to talk about what's next for you since you just gave birth 4 days ago?
I would love to. All I want to talk about. All I want to talk about is this movie. But yeah, I mean, I'm always working on several things at once. I'm going to make another movie with, it's really funny. I'm going to take you on a little detour for a second, but as I was cutting this film, I'm not going to say a big believer, but I really like an astrologist in my life. And I like a session. And I had thought about, it was before I knew I was pregnant. It was in January. I went to this astrologer and I was sort of finishing up the movie. Like we were done editing, but we were doing sound and color and music and all those things. And I will be honest, as a working mom I already had one at home, I had a really tough time adjusting to being a mother. And I also, as we all do, if you're a woman, have a unique relationship with my mother. And so I was sort of thinking about doing my next film about sort of like a kind of like Lady Bird meets Thelma and Louise if my mother and I were on a crime spree together. And so I sort of started ideating on that, and I brought it to No Trace, and they were like, we would love to do that film. And I went to go see this astrologer, and he said to me, the next thing that you're going to write is about your mother, and P.S. you're pregnant. And I didn't know yet. And so there was no way for him to know that I was sort of starting to work on this idea. So that's a very roundabout psycho way of introducing that. I think that's one of the next things I'm doing. I have a limited series about Alexander McQueen and Isabella Blow and their relationship. And then I have another TV show I'm about to take out, which is really exciting, that hopefully we'll be able to talk about soon. And I desperately want to do something else with more of a lady-centric, something with Geraldine and Pippa and Molly. So hopefully once we're through this bit of we're putting our first baby into the world, we can talk about our second one. So those are some of the fun things.
Exciting. So we have a couple questions. Let's see. Why was it important to show Lucy getting back with Max?
I mean, I will say, if you are somebody who has been stronger than going back to your terrible ex-boyfriend, you are so much better off than I am. But I think that sometimes we just have to prove ourselves right, I guess, maybe. And I think that, it's brief, but she does, I think when you have such a terrible breakup, you're just waiting for that person to come back and say, I was wrong. And it's going to be different this time. And so often it isn't, but I think it's only human to fall into that trap. So
I know, but we were all saying, don't do it, because he's such a douche. Mm-hmm. Anyway, this is one. I'll start with Molly. What is your go-to karaoke song? That was my favorite scene.
Natalie and I were just talking about it. I love singing Traveling Soldier by the Chicks to kind of bring down the mood and kind of just tell a story, and kind of everyone's really amped up and dancing. And I'm like, no, we're going to sit down and we're going to have some quiet times.
How about you, Natalie?
I mean, I really love No Scrubs. I think I love that. Like, we start slow, we move fast. It's like a great karaoke song. Everyone knows it. But I think like the canon, I think you can, like Britney, you can't go wrong with a Britney. You can't go wrong with a Destiny's Child. Yeah. You can't go wrong with a Beyonce. You can't go wrong with a Taylor Swift. It's not my key, but it's someone else's key. And if you can pull off that key, like, bless your heart.
And I think I'm going to do one last question in here, which is, I'd love to know more about how loss and grief plays a part in this film, and how you think it has a role in portrayals of romantic love in general.
Well, I think I touched on it with a little bit of the heartbreak stuff, but I think that in this film in particular, underneath Lucy is generally like this bright and sunny human, an eternal optimist in many ways. But, underneath she is struggling with being like the keeper of the memories in her household, and sort of feeling the loss of someone whose body is still there, but whose mind is no longer there, and not knowing really how to contend with that. And I think that, in this film in particular, Geraldine does an incredible job of sort of performing that and she and I talked about this a lot, of being this, wild woman on the surface, and then underneath holding this like, this bit of anxiety and emotion sort of always under the surface. And so I think it's really essential, that loss is essential to the character and has shaped the character, and is, in introducing her mother to Nick, is kind of saying, this is who I really am. And I think that's the first person with Nick that she's ever done that with, and that she's ever, admitted to that there's something bigger going on than just this quirk. And so I think it's exposing herself a little bit. And so I think it's why it hurts so much when Nick isn't able to do the reciprocal thing for her.
I had do you have time for two more quick questions from our? Okay.
World.
Okay. Awesome. Great. So someone wanted to know about the song, about the soundtrack and the process of putting it together, because they noticed a lot of strong women artists in the mix, and it was so great to hear.
Yeah, that was so much fun. The music, I'm really proud of the music in this movie, both the original and the soundtrack. I worked with two incredible women. Genevieve is my composer, Genevieve Vincent, and Melanie Mitchell is my music supervisor, or was my music supervisor. I hope those women do more films with me. They were such an integral part of the post process. And yes, Melanie and I really focused on trying to feature as many female artists as we could. You know, I love that Billie Eilish song, Everything I Wanted, that comes on. That was one we could not find the right song in that little montage bit, and we tried so many things, and we had temporarily had like a song by a male artist. Honestly, I'm forgetting who it was, because men are all the same to me. And I just kidding. And I woke up, and it was just before Thanksgiving, and I heard this Billie Eilish song, and I was like, that's it. And I called Melanie, and she was like, we cannot afford that song. And I was like, I don't care. We are going to afford that song. It doesn't matter. It's the perfect one. And we put it in, and it just worked, and it like breaks your heart in that moment. And then Melanie, to her credit, the Ingrid Michaelson song that is actually at the end of the film that they dance to, we could also not find the right song there. And Melanie went to a show of hers and approached her producer and was like, can you remix the song just for us? So that was something that she just like boldly, you know, had them do and played it for me. And I was like, you're a sick genius. And I'm so grateful that I have you. And you know, Genevieve just did such a great job with all the like fun clapping and the original score. So yeah, I'm sorry, that was a very long-winded, but I'm glad you like the music.
And we have another one that says, oh, and also my friends and I noticed that Geraldine, who we're obsessed with, has a body type that's relatable to us. That was so nice to see. It's never addressed in the movie, which is even better to see. We were wondering if that was purposeful.
Yeah, because she has a beautiful body and she looks great.
Yep. And okay, how about, what advice do you have for young female filmmakers who might be nervous about networking? What do you think is the best way to nurture new connections without just randomly sending out material?
You know, I think if you can, you should try to be, you know, learn as much as you can about various parts of the business. I think, you know, interning and trying your hat at various things is really great. If you can get like PA experience or on-set experience, like, you know, all the better. And I think, you know, for someone like me, I want to be, you know, I've had female mentors. I want to be a mentor to someone else, and as many women that I can continue to hire and empower in all sorts of departments, like the better. And so, you know, that's kind of, hopefully we have people with that philosophy. And networking is, you know, it's hard, but I think it's okay to send out your material, and it's okay to like cold email someone, and it's okay to try and put your foot forward, put yourself out there, because if you don't do it, you never know. And there might be someone on the other end who answers your email and says like, great, send me your stuff, or let's have a coffee, or let's, you know, we live in this new era, let's have a Zoom.
Which is so much easier than an actual coffee.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't drink anything.
All right. I want to thank you and Molly so much for joining us. As I said, I love this film. Everyone, if you didn't see it before this Q&A, go out and see it. I noticed, because I live in Huntington Beach, I was looking at the website today. It's playing right down the street. I have not been to a movie in 6 months. I did not know the movie theater was open. I may just go do it just to support this film that I love so much.
We would love that, and thank you for having us. And you know, Molly Gordon is a real gem in life and in this film, so I hope everyone gets to see her.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
I love Natalie.
I love you. I love Animal Kingdom. I love the the Gallery of Broken Hearts. This has been a really awesome Friday afternoon for me, I will say.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.